Good morning.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. Hello, Simon Kennedy Ellis.
Are you calling me gorgeous?
Oh, well, you are. I
woke up like that.
I was just saying the day is gorgeous. I want to ask you a question.
Oh.
Christmas.
We're going to cut straight in. Oh, I think
Just
this
going
might
straight
be...
to it.
This is going to come out just before Christmas.
Just before
this one,
Christmas. Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I was just
Merry
thinking
Christmas,
to myself,
listeners. Merry
Christmas, listeners.
Merry Christmas in particular, because a lot of my, I think, friends think I am the Christmas Grinch. So just to say, happy Christmas. I hope it's a beautiful day.
Hang on. Do they? Do people think you're the Christmas Grinch? If so, why so?
I think, listen to last week's episode about the Advent calendar. I think the Advent calendar was a gateway drug into trying to get me to be more Christmassy.
Right. Okay, so I had a different question about Christmas, but I'm going to pivot to this question and then return to my previous intended question.
Great.
Because I think they're probably interconnected. Why so not so fond of the Christmassiness, sir?
This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing.
Well, it's not that I'm not fond of it. I think I got this from my mother. My mother was, as you know, deeply, deeply devout, a deeply spiritual person with a humongous temper. And that's unrelated to being devout. And
although lots of devout people do start wars because of their religion, so maybe they're not entirely unconnected.
I don't think my mother started.
I was going to say, I'm not there for a second suggesting that your mum would have waged a war.
Yeah, I think she had there was a couple of, mini campaigns, I think, at various stages in her life. So she really rebelled against the, and it would have happened over the course of her life too, the extraordinary commercialization of Christmas. Like she really I was going to say twisted her nuts, but that's not quite right. It really upset her.
I offered you rankled because I thought that was a nice word, and you threw down twisted your nuts.
What was the word you used?
Rankled.
Rankled. It really did. It really, really annoyed her. And so I think I think it is weird for me without any relationship to the Christian church other than through memory, meaning through my mother's memory and, and through our family history. It feels weird for me to participate in the sort of weird, strange love child of, no, that's not quite right. The sort of what Christmas has become. It feels very odd. And Lil and I celebrate. We have a really lovely day together, and it's really pleasant, and it's a little bit special. And I enjoy seeing my, colleagues and frolics and chatting to them about it. But other than that, that's it. We don't have presents, etc.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I was walking through town, and the lights are up. And it's a new set of lights this year, so they're really lovely. They're super golden, and then with this kind of like very bright white interspersed sort of flashy bits. They're really nice. They're just it feels very something. And I was reflecting on a walk in the evening with Bob and Jeff that it just feels so incredibly important for the town to be lit up like this. And for me, it's got nothing to do with the birth of a man 2,000 years ago, and everything to do with where it is at this particular point of the year in the West, in the Northern Hemisphere. Yeah. So
the sort of pagan aspect of it is the...
Yeah. And so I think I'm becoming increasingly... I think I might have had a little bit of a dalliance with thinking, God, Christmas is overplayed and it's so commercial and all of that sort of stuff. But now I just find myself being very happy that people want to come together and celebrate and sparkle and shine. And it feels like it goes back to something a bit more communal and togethery, even though it's not intentional. It's just like we're all accidentally doing something at the same time. So I quite like it.
Oh, I love. That was my. I mean, it was a strange experience the first time I had Christmas in the Northern Hemisphere, because you know, and it's, as you and all listeners know, it's Christmas is a summertime activity in New Zealand and Australia, and so that sense of being inside and close inside doesn't exist. It's much more like a sort of big sort of free-for-all party where, you know, in terms of everyone taking up space in the kind of space that exists as it does in New Zealand and Australia in the way that it doesn't do here. And so when I first came here, when I moved here, I found myself deeply enamored with that sense of the darkness and being together and being inside in the warm, and you know, for those who are inside and in the warm. And yeah, so I think what you're saying I really love, and one of Lil and I, one of our favourite things to do at Christmas time is to walk around and vicariously look at Christmas lights inside people's houses and Christmas trees, and also in particular, if we can, is people sitting down with their hats on eating Christmas dinners. I love doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that aspect of it, of being together, I'm so with you. I think it's beautiful.
And it's the accidental communal nature of it, in that we are just all just accidentally doing similar things at similar times. And I don't mean on the 25th of December. I sort of mean in this whole period of time where the lights are on and where things just get... maybe it was because last night I was walking the dog and the Friday market was being broken down. I guess this would have been about like 6:30, 7 o'clock. And so some of the stall holders had left their stalls up and gone to have a drink at the pub, and then they were taking the stalls down for the evening. And there were just kids running around the Christmas tree in the market square, and there were people just yelling to each other about, you know, what they were doing. And it was just, it felt... The kids were not connected to the people breaking down the market stalls. There was just this sort of melee. And I don't know if it was just coalescing because there was a Christmas tree in the middle of it and there were lights all the way around it. And it was just cast into a different sort of relief. And it just made me feel really happy.
Yeah, I just share that. And again, I don't want this to sound Grinchy. I really don't, because I think my colleagues and I, we're just basically a joke we're having. It's not to be too serious about it, but yeah, there's a weird aspect for me, which of course is it's also a really stressful time, and there are particular people and families who generally hold that burden, and I've experienced quite I'll just say violent. Had quite violent experiences at Christmas time, and so I in terms of the way in which alcohol plays a part in that, and so there's something about that which makes me really uneasy, which is a sort of the flip side to what you're describing. And then of course it's association with Christianity in this country, which is as we talked about last episode, has a very particular say in the way in which we think about ourselves when there's a massive percentage of this country are not Christians, including those who are formerly from Christian or have Christian lineages, you might say.
Yeah.
So yeah, those things it's a little bit like they leaven it for me. They leaven the thing you're describing, which I think ideally is such a beautiful time of being together and looking after each other.
Yeah, I think I remember that feeling of the enforced jollity of being with people, but I don't remember it from being a kid, because when I was really young, so like prior to being, let's say, 10, I lived on a street that had I think I've said this before. I lived on a street with a load of kids my age. So there was like loads and loads of kids all around about the same age. And so
you talked about it when we had the garden party.
Yeah,
with the candy floss.
With the candy floss, yeah. But it was, I mean, all high days and holidays, we would all sort of just pour out. And I remember kind of spilling out of the house on Christmas afternoon after we'd eaten. And obviously not everybody's eating all at the same time, but just there's that sense that you'd start to see kids sort of hanging around the middle of the road, literally the middle of the road, because it was a cul-de-sac that I lived on.
Yeah.
And they'd be holding things, and we'd be taking out our most treasured possessions and sharing. Yeah, it's like, look what I got. Look what I got.
I hope there were skateboards at some point.
I remember bikes aplenty. I wasn't really in a skateboardy landscape. We were bikes.
Yeah.
You know, we were big about the bikes. And I remember the BMXs. That we were big about BMXs one year. But yeah, I remember getting a Comanche, which was the one step. Oh no, I didn't get a Comanche. I got the Tomahawk, which was one step down. Anyway, that's a total
and
side
the other indigenous Indian
oh god, yeah,
Native
yeah.
American names for bicycles.
Safe to say that Raleigh in the 1970s didn't cover themselves with
back to the they were called Riley for
their
God's sake.
appropriation of cultures.
Back to last week's.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly, etc. But so my memory of like being a little kid was one of again weirdly communal but not intentional.
Yeah.
We weren't going to parties or anything like that. We were just like hanging out on the street and showing each other our toys, which I remember very fondly. And then from probably being about 11 to 16, we lived in a pub, and I was either washing up or I was waiting tables. So Christmas Day was a day of work.
Heavy.
Yeah, really, really busy day. Boxing Day, also similarly busy, but a bit more chilled in the sense that we would just like use anything that was left over to do a big buffet for all the regulars. And then it would become a lock-in. So I sort of don't have the familial memory of that being a bit overdone.
Right.
But I sort of know what you mean, but it's sort of at a remove. I remember having to go and spend quite a lot of early Christmases with Bob at Bob's family's house.
Yeah.
Because for them, Christmas was a big deal. And like, they were... The first one was really interesting. It was like, wow, this is Christmassy. And then from that point on, it was just like, whoa, this is a lot. This is. It was like, yeah, I became allergic quite quickly because it was that everything was sort of crammed into a particular
window. Had to be
window.
this way.
Yeah, exactly. Which just had never happened when I was a kid, or it hadn't at any point, you know. And so I guess there was almost a sense that Christmas wasn't a big deal in my house, but it totally was. It just wasn't formalized, and we didn't have to behave in a particular way. And I do wonder if that's about, you know, there not being a group of siblings around me. It was just me, so it was all pretty chill.
Yeah, because it was. I mean, I think of Christmas Day and Boxing Day for our 3 American listeners. Boxing Day is the day after Christmas, as being time not with friends. That they were. It was just about being with family, and so it always felt a little bit quieter. I really enjoyed it for the most part, but I was always just sort of desperate to go back and hang out with my friends. So it wasn't the same sort of. But you made me think of bicycles. Did I ever tell you about buying a bicycle for Lil for Christmas one year?
Oh.
Yeah, we so this would have been 2001. So Lil would have been 25, 26. Couldn't ride a bike. Had never learned to ride a bike, and I thought I would buy her a bike and then find a way to teach her how to ride a bike. And the next door neighbours kindly hid it in their house. Quite hard to hide a bike, it turns out. And we were having on Christmas, and so I'd arranged Sarah and Dean, their names were, and we arranged for Dean to hoik it over the fence, well, not hoik it, but to lift it over the fence, and I'd put it in our sort of funny little office space, and then bring it out on Christmas morning. I think it had a ribbon, around the bell or something like that, and so it was sort of just tucked in a very small room. So if you went into this room, you'd trip over it, right? That's how small the room was.
Yeah.
And so we had some friends around. This was Christmas Eve, and I ended up having way too much to drink and ended up dancing to Michael Jackson while wearing a bicycle helmet, and which is never a good moment in a. And Lil had enough by this stage. She'd gone to bed, and I think she was a little bit like, "Oh, can people just stop?" But at some point, she'd gone out and gone into that second study to do something, and I'd even in my state, I'd sort of stopped thinking, "Oh my God, she's going to see this bike." She did not. It was basically like that gorilla in the psychological experiment with the people bouncing basketballs. Do you know about that, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, it was basically like that. The bicycle was the gorilla, and I was thinking, how could she not? She could possibly not have seen that. Anyway, so the next morning I wheeled it out and then proceeded to teach her, which there are some quite good principles for teaching someone to ride a bike, which I see people breaking all the time, making it hard for kids. Lil effectively taught herself to ride a bike as an adult.
Yeah, what are the principles? Because I want to know if I failed, because Bob also didn't learn how to ride a bike until she was an adult. And I also taught Bob.
So... yeah. Oh, okay. So we've got. I did a little bit of at the time. I did a little bit of internet searching, and one gentle slope downwards. Second one is lower the seat, so that people can put their feet on the ground, and then just get them used to letting gravity just so they don't have to pedal at the same time. They put their feet down and get used to being balanced, and then slowly lift their feet up, and also not on concrete. Just do it so it's on a firm surface, so it's not like sand, so that if they fall, it's not a big deal. And that's it. So they don't have to learn. They don't have to brake because it's not such a steep hill. It's just a slight decline. Lots of other things, but those are the basic ones.
I did everything wrong. Based upon those principles, I did none of those things.
Pedal, Bob, pedal.
I just replicated what my dad did. Which was I ran behind the bicycle holding on to the saddle.
Yes.
Just that.
It is wrong. It is wrong.
Yeah, but
it's wrong because they're not learning basically the signals of being on balance.
Yeah.
You're doing the work to keep them on balance.
Except it turns out that works with a child. It doesn't
But not
really
with an
work
adult.
with an adult, because she's a fully grown person. It was a big bike and she was capable of going much faster than a child. And so really all it was I was running like crazy, and she's like going, "Are you still holding on?" I was like, "I'm not even in the near vicinity." And she effectively learned to ride a bike through lies, because I was like, yes, I'm holding on. And she picked it up pretty quick.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I have to install this Christmas. I'm installing an electric wheel on on Bob's bike. There we go.
You can add an electric thingy.
Yeah. We've invested. In fact, over the summer we invested in the Swytch bike kits.
I have heard. I think it must have been YouTube ads. I think probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're sitting in the flat in Lisbon, and my plan is to turn both of our Lisbon bikes into electric bikes
because of the hills.
Oh, mate, those hills are buggers.
Yeah, I mean, you can hear you can probably imagine what I'm thinking, which is as you're getting older, it's more important that you do more of that work as opposed to less of it. Physical activity.
But you see. But if
it stops you getting on them, then that's a problem.
That's what I was going to say. It's because you haven't cycled around Lisbon, have you?
No, I was left alone to walk up and down hills for hours. But no, I didn't cycle.
You could have got yourself a fucking bike, you miserable shit.
Ho, ho, ho. Did you just call me a miserable shit on our Christmas episode?
I did.
Merry Christmas, everyone. from a miserable shit.
I have been told the opposite is true. That actually, you should be thinking about augmenting your bicycle as you get older, because what it does is it encourages you to go further and do more, rather than making you think, "Oh, this is too much. I'm now past it." So actually, also this has got like the batteries have got like a 15 kilometer range, so it's nothing. It really is just to help you up a hill, and when I mean a hill, I mean the walls that you have to encounter when you are cycling around Lisbon.
I'm not thinking about, all those sort of the Dutch who are just keep biking into their 90s, but of course the Netherlands.
I've just been there.
It's quite possibly
flat.
the flattest.
It
that
was
in Bangladesh, probably.
It was curious. I mean, what is also curious is just how incredibly unforgiving the Dutch cyclists are of pedestrians.
Yeah. It's the cultures, really. Yeah,
it's get out of the way. So whoa.
Yeah.
And also, that's not I'm on a bike path. That's like I was on a footpath and there were people just cycling at me. That was my big takeaway from the Netherlands. It's like carry a stick and stick it in people's wheels to make them fall off, and then you'll be safer. That was my takeaway. I might have misunderstood how to exist.
So I hope you have a really beautiful Christmas. I hope that it's full of joy and rest, and I'm expecting not many shop-bought mince pies.
My Christmas day is going to be spent in a Michelin-starred restaurant.
The one local to you?
Mm-hmm. Yep. We have booked ourselves in.
Just the two of you?
Just the two of us.
The same one that we caused a stir in that time?
No, a different one.
Oh, there's another Michelin star recipe. What is the restaurant? So everyone can gate crash us.
Not telling you. Not having anybody go online and find out how much I'm spending on Christmas dinner.
Oh, come on. You've teased me enough about my pair of trousers that cost £1,400. They didn't, but people could have gone and looked up how much those pants that didn't last a year.
Maybe we'll go to Bel Canto. Just saying.
Oh, shit, really?
See? I don't want to be judged.
No, I'm more thinking like, wow, that's fantastic. That's classy. And also I think to our listeners, just we don't know many of you, and some of you we do know, but thanks for listening. And I'm speaking on your part as well, on your behalf, Lee, that we hope you have a very, very beautiful day together with families or friends or whoever it is that you would most like to spend time with.
Ho, ho, ho.
Can I say something else? Not to do with Christmas?
Yeah, of course.
Just a brief little thing. The other day, I go for walks every day around the park. It's quite a long walk, and in the dark now. And this massive dog on a lead came at me.
Like cross came at you?
Huh?
Like angry? Like, came at you?
Yeah. And
God.
I got freaked out. And there were two owners. One owner said, sorry. And the other just started laughing. And I said, it's not that funny. And I just had that moment of going, I don't understand some dog owners. My suspicion it was that he was just nervous, that it was just like, it was a way of covering up something.
Yeah. Having lived with a reactive dog, who is, I would say, 98% of the time like a tiny little angel, and then 2% of the time we'll see somebody with a fluorescent rucksack and think that they need to die. Right. And it's not necessarily. Yeah, it's really discomforting, because obviously I don't know what happened to him before he came to our house. So there are certain men that really freak him out. He just has to look at them, and I can feel him bristle. And I went, oh, does he look like the man who was not nice to you? Gotcha. We'll have a little cuddle. And usually he telegraphs it up his lead, and I can feel it, and I can make a response, and it's pretty easy to chill him out. It's very easy to chill him out, actually. But sometimes somebody will come around a corner. You know what Totnes is like. There's lots of little ginnels and snickets, and people can just emerge from nowhere. And there was one particular case where a lad just delivering newspapers just really, really shocked him, and he was apoplectic with rage. And I was like, where has this come from? And I can say in that moment, of course, being incredibly apologetic, and there was no contact. He was just noisy.
Yeah.
And just saying, I'm so sorry. I think you must look like somebody who's been mean to him, and I know you haven't been mean to him, but I'm really sorry. But I can understand how somebody might respond with that nervous laughter, because it is, if it's a dog that's doing it regularly, that person wants a slap, and their dog needs to be retrained. But it is when it happens, it's like, where's this come from, kiddo? And you're also a little bit anxious about what your dog is feeling. It's like, are they okay? Why has this suddenly emerged for them?
Yeah.
Which is not to say that I think your response was bang on, and I'm really, really sorry. And I'm not offering.
Well, you don't need to be sorry, but it was that one of those moments when a dog comes at you where your heart starts racing. It's that kind of dog, really, really full on. I don't know the breed, so I don't. But yeah, it's funny hearing about Jeffrey. It's like he needs to update his priors, doesn't it? It's like he's had that history, and that his world's not like that now, and yet that memory is really poor little thing.
It's a funny thing, because like I said, I genuinely mean, like 98% of the time in fact, on the same day it happened, he was sitting outside of the front door waiting to cross the road, and somebody stopped directly in front of him without asking permission or anything like that, just grabbed hold of his face and started to say how calm and good he was. And I thought, fucking hell, this is the same dog who earlier on today just exploded, and he just sat there going, yeah, I am calm, aren't I? I'm really good. Yeah, you're rubbing my face. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
It's probably a smell.
And so
it's probably that paper boy.
It just goes all, yeah. Something happened, and I guarantee it wasn't the boy. It was just what the boy set off in this poor little creature's head. And so I really feel for the dogs in those moments, whether it's because of poor socialization, a bad memory, or just having, But it really does not defend somebody laughing at that, because you have to just go, God, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
But also it was the difference of response that did make me laugh once I'd settled down a bit,
Yeah. My favourite thing when I'm walking Jeff is, because Jeff is always on a lead. He's never. Well, that's not true. There are some walks very, very early in the morning where I know there's nobody around, and he goes off his lead and he just has a little run around. He's got great recall, but I don't trust him because of his history.
Yeah.
The thing that bugs the shit out of me is when people's dogs come running towards Jeffrey, and I say, "Can you put your dog on lead?" "Oh, you don't need to be like that. He's friendly." It's like, yeah, but guess what? Mine's not. And you'll be moaning when he bites him. So you've got no recall. Put him on a fucking lead. And I hear myself, and I'm like, oh, I've become him. I've become that one.
Can you? I just love the idea that our Christmas special, it's not special, would end with you. Put him on a fucking lead.
Let's stop recording.